Let's bring in Sourabh Gupta. He's the Senior Asia-Pacific International Relations Policy Specialist at the Institute for China-America Studies. And I think Stuart set things up nicely for us to talk about this. Just talk to us about the importance of this trip.
I think this is a very important trip, and the SCO is as purpose-fit an organization as you could find to tackle with the problems that are in Afghanistan and could potentially radiate out of Afghanistan. So I think it's very important, especially because all the major non-Western stakeholders will be there. As we know, the Western powers are sort of moving out of Afghanistan, so the non-Western powers will have to pick up the slack, and almost all of them congregate out there. So I think it's a very important trip.
And we know that Wang Yi's already spoken out earlier about the hasty withdrawal of U.S. forces from Afghanistan and what it might mean for the region. As Stuart kind of alluded to, about 6 days ago, we had 1,000 Afghan soldiers fleeing across the border into a neighboring country, Tajikistan, which of course he's going to visit. So talk to us about the concerns about regional stability, concerns of maybe a rebirth of terrorism, or just even refugees spilling into any of these neighboring countries.
I think it's about the refugee angle, which I would suggest is the most important angle. I know everybody is focused on the terror angle and the regional instability angle, and that will come to pass if we have a protracted civil war in Afghanistan. But if one side overshadows the other, as in the Taliban overshadows the Kabul government, or if the Taliban from a position of strength can then find a power-sharing arrangement with the Taliban government, I think we can have a fair deal of stability. Because I think the one lesson the Taliban have learned is don't harbor bad people in Afghanistan, because that will come to hurt you at the end. And I think they've internalized the lesson well. And frankly, they were actually, it's not been reported as much, they were on the side of the Americans fighting Islamic State in Afghanistan. So the Taliban have shown also that they want the stability and they don't want problems radiating outside. But if there is a civil war, we will have those problems radiating outside.
Yeah, and I think you bring up a really good point about the refugees. It's not focused on as much, but when you look at Syria and what's happened with refugees spilling into all the neighboring countries, obviously this has to be a concern for these countries in the region. Is there going to be a consensus at the SCO, do you think, where they'll come out with a uniform statement at the end of this?
If they do have a uniform statement, it will be a statement showing that their desire and their resolve to do something. I don't think they will have anything concrete per se out there, simply because the situation is so fluid. There will, of course, be that fear as we talk refugees, but also the fear of bad actors using safe spaces in Afghanistan, in ungoverned areas, and trying to use that as a base to do terrorism abroad. And that should not be discounted. I must admit that's an important area. But on the refugees also, the problem arises from the fact that there have been huge refugee spillovers previously. There are still a lot of them in Pakistan, and now people like the Pakistanis themselves are saying maybe we should seal the border, because along with the refugees will also come some terrorists who have bad intentions. And so even screening these refugees, where do you screen them? Are they internally displaced people in Afghanistan? You let them cross a border. I think it's important to hash out where countries come down on those issues at this point.
Yeah, that's important. SCO, now in its 20th year, what impact has it had, and how has it morphed or changed over the last 2 decades? Because the organizations start one way and then they kind of adjust along the way. What type of changes have we seen?
I'll tell you, here's where the SCO plays an important role, and where its impact is discounted. And it's the same thing which we talk about ASEAN, and people say, oh, where's the action coming? Why isn't it being more active? Why can't it get more things done? But the fact of the matter is that SCO, just like ASEAN, brings everyone on a common platform and gets common purpose happening. Because if these countries are going to work at cross purposes with each other, it could be very bad and unstable, that region. So from that perspective, SCO has channeled everybody in the correct direction in terms of dealing with these issues of terrorism, separatism, etc. But what is required over and above, especially, as I said, it's purpose fit for this moment, with even observers like Turkey and Iran being an integral part of the Afghan question, is it's time to show up and actually show purpose and do something concrete, because this is SCO's moment to act.